Welcome to another episode of Microsoft Knowledge Nuggets here on M365 FM. I'm your host, Mirko Peters. Today's topic is one you've definitely heard about if you work in finance, Copilot for Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. But here's the thing. Most people hear Copilot and picture a chatbot that answers questions or maybe writes an email. But what does it actually do for a finance team on a Tuesday morning? That's what we're clearing up today in plain English. This isn't a robot that replaces your accountant. It's a helper that lives inside the tools you already use, your ERP, your email, your spreadsheets. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what Copilot does in D365 F&O, where it works best, and what it really delivers. We'll walk through the main use cases, starting with the one that brings the most immediate value. So grab your coffee and let's dive in. The problem Copilot solves. 20 years ago, if you worked in finance, your day meant logging into the ERP, exporting data to Excel, manipulating it, writing commentary, sending emails, and repeating that cycle every month. The data was there. You just spent most of your time chasing it down and moving it around. That's the real problem Copilot solves. Finance teams don't lack information. They have plenty. The friction is in how you access it and act on it. You'd open a customer record, then a screen for aging, then another for payment history, then switch to Outlook to draft an email. Every step costs time. Copilot flips that model. Instead of you going to the data comes to you inside your workflow. One screen, one conversation. So what are the actual things it can do? Let's start with the biggest one. Copilot for Collections and AR. So here's another knowledge nugget for you. Collections is the main use case for Copilot in D365 F&O. It gets the most attention because it gives you the fastest return on your time. Let me explain how. Inside D365 F&O, there's a workspace called the Collections Coordinator Summary. When you open a customer record, Copilot generates a summary of everything you need to know. Overdue invoices, payment history, aged balances, risk exposure, all in one place. Let me walk you through a real example. Say you're a collector and you open a customer named Kontosoluted. Copilot immediately tells you this customer has 3 overdue invoices totaling $12,000. Their last payment was 45 days ago, and they have a dispute on invoice FT9. Back in the old days, you'd spend 5 to 10 minutes hunting for that information across different screens. Now it's there in seconds, but summaries are just the beginning. Copilot can also draft personalized reminder emails based on that customer's history and tone preferences. You review the email, click send, and move on. That's a 2-click workflow. View the summary, create the email. A 30-minute task becomes 30 seconds. And here's what makes it even better. This works inside D365 F&O and from Outlook through the Copilot for Finance add-in. So if a customer emails you directly, you can pull up their account info, see their outstanding balance, and draft a response without ever leaving your inbox. The collection activity gets synced back to F&O automatically. Collections is the big one. But there's another area where Copilot saves even more hidden time. Copilot for Financial Close and Reporting, month-end close. Every finance team knows this rhythm. Reconcile, adjust, validate, report, repeat. It's the same dance every single month, and it eats up days of focused work. Copilot can help at every stage of that close lifecycle. So let's walk through it. Before close even starts, Copilot does a pre-close scan. It identifies missing activity, unusual transactions, and incomplete postings that need attention before you begin. Think of it like checking your kitchen before you start cooking a big meal. You want to know if you're missing ingredients before you're halfway through the recipe, not after. While you're working through the close, Copilot gets more hands-on. It suggests journal entry accounts and descriptions based on your historical patterns. So if you always book prepaid expenses to the same account with the same description, Copilot learns that and offers it up automatically. It also flags discrepancies during reconciliations, items that don't match, amounts that look off, entries that seem out of place. You still make the final call, but the hunting and gathering is done. Now the review phase, this is where Copilot really shines. It runs a variance analysis and generates plain language explanations of your financial statements. Here's a concrete example. You're reviewing the monthly P&L and you see operating expenses jumped. Instead of digging through spreadsheets for an hour, you ask Copilot, explain the variance in operating expenses this month. It returns a summary with the top 3 drivers and their dollar impact. Maybe it's a one-time consulting fee. Maybe it's higher utility costs. Maybe it's a supplier price increase. You get the answer in seconds, not hours. Now, let's be clear about what Copilot isn't doing here. It's not replacing your judgment. You still need to review the explanation, validate the numbers, and decide what to do about them. What Copilot replaces is the manual hunting and gathering phase, the part where you open 5 different reports, export data, build pivot tables, and try to piece together a story. That's the part that takes time and drains energy. Copilot handles that so you can focus on the actual analysis. Close is about what happened last month. But what about what's coming next? Copilot for cash flow and forecasting. Why is cash flow forecasting so hard? Think of the old routine. You export data, build models in Excel, make assumptions about when customers will pay, then hope you're close. It's reactive. You look at the past and guess the future. Copilot works differently. It analyzes what's already in your system. Open transactions, recurring patterns, Seasonality. It uses your actual data to predict cash inflows and outflows. You don't build a model from scratch. The forecast comes from your real numbers. Now for the practical part. Copilot flags variances early, unusual payment delays, unexpected cost spikes. A customer who usually pays in 30 days hasn't paid in 45. Copilot spots the pattern and brings it to your attention. You see cash flow problems as they happen, not at month end. Think of it as a financial radar for your business. It spots trouble before it arrives. Then there's scenario planning. This is where Copilot becomes a decision tool. You can ask, what happens to cash if we slow collections by 10 days? Or what if we accelerate payments to top vendors? Copilot analyzes the data and shows the impact. You test different assumptions without building separate models for each one. This changes the finance role. Instead of spending time explaining what happened, you think about what might happen. It's a shift from reactive reporting to proactive decisions. That's Copilot inside F&O. But Copilot also reaches into your inbox and spreadsheets. Copilot for expense management and AP. Let's talk about expense reports. You know the drill. Someone hands you a crumpled receipt. You type the amount, date, merchant, and category. Then check policy, then route for approval. Every single receipt, every single time. Copilot uses optical character recognition or OCR, scan a receipt. Copilot extracts the amount, date, and merchant automatically. It builds a compliant expense report without you typing a single line. Then it checks each line against company policy. It flags anything wrong. A meal over the daily limit, a hotel charge needing pre-approval. It catches those early. For accounts payable, it's similar. Invoices come in. Copilot helps ingest them, suggest general ledger codes, and trigger the right approval workflows. You don't manually code each invoice and route it. Copilot handles the setup. The AP specialist reviews and confirms. Here's a common scenario. A vendor emails a change request on a purchase order. Maybe they can only supply 50 units instead of 30, or the price changed. In the old workflow, someone would open the PO, update the line, reroute for approval, and email the vendor back. With Copilot, the system detects the change. It shows the difference side by side. It asks if you want to apply it. You review, click confirm. Copilot handles the rest. The PO updates. The approval workflow triggers. The vendor gets notified. What this adds up to is less manual data entry and fewer keying errors. The accountant still reviews and approves. But the mechanical part, typing, routing, checking policy, gets handled automatically. All of this sounds great, but there are requirements you need to know before getting started. What you need to get Copilot working. So let's talk about what it actually takes to run Copilot in D365 F&O. I'm not going to bury you in technical specs, but you need the basics so you don't hit a wall halfway through a project. First up, your D365 F&O version has to be 10.0, 38 or higher. That's a hard block if you're on something older. No workaround. Next, Power Platform and Dataverse integration need to be enabled. This is how Copilot sees your F&O data. Think of Dataverse as the bridge between your ERP and the AI layer. No bridge, nothing for Copilot to work with. Then you've got to toggle on specific capabilities in feature management. The collections workspace and AI summaries aren't on by default. You go in and flip those switches. Now, licensing. This is the one that catches people off guard. Copilot requires a Microsoft 365 Copilot license on top of your existing D365 license. That's a separate cost. You need to factor that into your planning from day one. And your environment needs to be cloud hosted. On-premise deployments don't qualify. If you're still running on-prem, you'll need to move to the cloud first before Copilot becomes an option. I'm not listing these to discourage you. I'm listing them so you know what you're walking into. These requirements are clear and achievable, but they're real, and ignoring them leads to frustration down the road. Once Copilot is running, the real question becomes how you get your team to actually open it. Making people actually use it. Here's a number you should sit with. Across organizations that roll out Microsoft 365 Copilot, only about 35% of licensed users actively use it without deliberate adoption planning. That means roughly 2 out of 3 people with access never open it. They're licensed, they're paying for it, and they never touch it. The most common failure is turning Copilot on without aligning it to your existing processes. Here's the honest truth. Copilot amplifies good processes and bad ones equally. If your collections workflow is a mess, Copilot won't fix it. It'll just help you generate messy emails faster. You need to clean up your processes first, then let Copilot accelerate them. So what actually works? Start with targeted pilots. Pick 2 or 3 high-impact workflows, collections, month-end close, expense processing, and roll Copilot out to those teams first. Don't give everyone access at once. Start small, prove the value, then expand. Train your teams on scenarios, not features. Don't run a training session called What Copilot Can Do. Run one called How to Close Month-End in half the time. Show people exactly how Copilot fits into their actual day. That's what sticks. And assign licenses to whole teams, not individuals. When a team learns together, they share tips, they compare results, and they push each other to use it more. Peer learning drives adoption way more than any training session ever will. Let's pull all of this together into one picture. The big picture, how it all connects. Here's the thing about Copilot. It's not one single switch you flip and suddenly everything changes. It's a set of helpers spread across F&O, Excel, Outlook, and Teams. Each one does something specific. Collections in F&O, expense reports through Outlook, cash flow analysis in Excel. Different tools, but they're built to work together. That's where the real power sits, the integration. Imagine a typical sequence. You're in F&O, and Copilot gives you a summary of a customer's overdue balance. From there, you move to Outlook to draft a reminder email, and Copilot pulls that same data and writes it for you. Your customer responds, dispute status updates right there in Outlook, and the change syncs back to F&O automatically. You never left your flow. The data moved with you. Here's what finance teams really need to understand. Copilot respects your existing security roles. It only shows what that user already has permission to see. Collections agents see their own customers. Controllers see the full ledger. AP clerks see vendor invoices. Copilot doesn't create new access. It works within the boundaries you've already set. Now let's talk about what this actually means for the people doing the work. Copilot doesn't replace finance professionals. It doesn't make journal entries on its own. It doesn't approve payments. What it does is automate the mechanical parts, the summarizing, the drafting, the data gathering, so humans can focus on judgment, negotiation, and strategy. The collector still decides how to handle a difficult customer. The accountant reviews the variance and picks the right action, while the controller signs off on the close. Copilot handles the prep work, you handle the decisions. That's the real shift. Finance teams have always been good at answering one question, was what happened? Copilot helps them move to a better one. What should we do about it? So that's Copilot in D365 F&O, not a separate tool you need to learn, just a set of AI helpers embedded in the workflows finance teams already use. Collections, close, expense management, reporting, forecasting. If you're in finance and your organization runs D365 F&O, here's your single most effective starting point. Start with the collections workspace this week. Open one customer record, read the AI summary, draft one email, see how it feels. Subscribe for more D365 in plain English, and drop a comment if something clicked today.